Well, hello and welcome to everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join our session that we as NoBlue2 are hosting together with our chosen financial planning and analysis partner platform, Abacum. So welcome to you, George, welcome to you, Ryan. Today we'll cover everything you need to know about how to start leveraging AI in your FP&A team and start making better decisions for your organization. I'm your host, Adam Ladd, Director of Account Management here at NoBlue2, and it's my real pleasure to welcome all of you here today. I'm incredibly excited for today's session, and we've got an amazing agenda ahead that we prepared for you. Today's session will take us about 45 minutes, and we're going to break down and give you all the insights into how you can move away from spreadsheets into a dedicated planning platform to leverage AI to make smarter decisions and streamline your finance operations. Now, before we get into the presentation, we like to make these sessions interactive. So as you will see, we'll have some pop-up questions as we go throughout today's session. And really, we would love to have your input as to how you currently use AI in your finance operations. So it's now time for us to tell you a bit about ourselves as organizations. Fantastic. Thank you. So first of all, as I said, I'm here representing NoBlue2, EMEA's largest NetSuite partner based here in the UK. I'm based in our London operation, and we have over 350 NetSuite customers that we work with, some fantastic logos that you can see on the right-hand side from all different industries. Many organizations that have actually started with NetSuite as scale-ups and have grown to truly international organizations like Gymshark, for example, and also Exclaimer as a software company. Here at NoBlue2, we've got vast experience of implementing NetSuite, and I have over 25 years of NetSuite experience. So really going back to when NetSuite was initiated in the late 1990s. International is something that's really important to us, and we've actually implemented NetSuite in over 60 countries around the world, as far as Eastern Timor to shores more familiar with us here in Europe or in North America. And really, that experience has seen us deliver NetSuite to over 1,000 customers of all different shapes, sizes, and industries. Most recently, we're also appointed NetSuite's EMEA Partner of the Year as we continue to grow our operations across Europe. And we look forward to hearing from you whether you're a customer of ours or indeed are exploring NetSuite as a solution, or perhaps you use NetSuite but would like to learn more about what it can offer you and our surrounding technologies like our great partner here at Abacum. Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. And great to meet everybody. For those of you, I'd like to introduce Abacum today. We are a global company with offices in New York, Barcelona, and London. We have hundreds of customers, including hundreds of customers that are on NetSuite today. And Abacum is the most scalable FP&A solution for mid-market companies. We strike the perfect balance between flexibility and ease of use. And Abacum offers the most powerful and intuitive multi-dimensional modeling engine together with collaborative workflows. This is going to make it so business partnering is easy, not just across the finance team, but across the rest of operations. So excited to share more with you today.
So with today's agenda in mind, here's a brief look at what we're going to cover. So first of all, we're going to step through why spreadsheets may well be holding your finance team back at present and how we can address that. The role of AI and automation in modern finance strategy. I'm sure you're having many conversations with colleagues and with peers about AI and what it means for you and your organization. So we'll delve deeper into that. And then most importantly, how to integrate Abacum's finance planning and analysis tools with NetSuite, whether you've made the investment now in NetSuite or whether you're an existing customer or a prospect. George is then going to kindly step us through a product demo of the solution before Ryan's going to step through some real life examples of how Abacum customers have successfully made the shift to using their solution. And then finally, some practical steps to help you streamline your finance operations and ultimately boost efficiency in your organization. So Ryan, perhaps to kick us off, you could tell us a little bit about some of the customers that you're dealing with and how spreadsheets are holding finance teams back at present.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I mentioned we work with hundreds of companies globally today, and we're working with, people, a lot of our key stakeholders are in finance. They're either coming out of legacy solutions or a lot of them are also coming out of spreadsheets. And a lot of times they'll come with the mindset of we're ready to shift. But sometimes they're also asking the question of, I think I'm ready, but why do other people sh shift? And what's that kind of breaking point in time that we need to shift out of spreadsheets? Um, and it's interesting. I think that it's almost like mental health for people because for finance professionals, once your spreadsheet starts to reach a certain point in its life cycle, and the business does as well, where you are starting to face uh, a model that has many dimensions, right? Many entities, many departments. There's going to be a lot of risk in the spreadsheet. It's very error prone. Things are going to break, right? It's going to be hard to collaborate with other stakeholders within the business. So, moving to a platform like Abacum is going to give your mind, put your mind at ease, right? Because it's going to remove that risk. You're going to have the model that can handle extreme complexity, but also not break. So you can trust that what you're putting together is going to be accurate, and it's also going to allow you to run your scenarios quickly and be able to get answers for the key stakeholders in the business in a timely fashion. The day that they ask for it too, so you guys can again make decisions faster as an organization. George, you talk to customers on a daily business as you're helping them evaluate the solution. What are some of the things that you hear?
Yeah, I think even today, this morning, for example, I was at a customer's or potential customer's office, and they had a beautiful model actually in their Excel. And I'll say something controversial. Spreadsheets are also still great for certain things, but it's that thing that you mentioned, Brian. It's that breaking point. So for them, it's just not having the data actualizing in the spreadsheet from NetSuite or from the data warehouse, and having to do that manually, obviously. And then that just holds them back in terms of being able to report, to be able to update the driver-based forecast. They had this beautiful, huge cohort forecast, and then just being able to answer like what if questions. Like if you have to run scenarios on the top of a spreadsheet, normally that means doing a copy, like a save as, and trying to see the output side by side on a third spreadsheet. It's just obviously I'm probably preaching to the choir, but it becomes very difficult. And then the other thing is just the collaboration. This model I saw this morning, they were using it perfectly for driving collaboration or driving collaboration between the finance team and the sales team. But they couldn't share the model with the sales team to then play around with the drivers because it would just break the whole model. So the only way they could do it was like screen sharing or having in-person meetings and say, what if we increase price by this? Or what if we increase like occupancy by this, like the main drivers, to see what the impact would be on the model. So as I say, spreadsheets, they still do have a place for finance teams, but eventually at some point they will start to break down.
And George, I think it's interesting. I have this conversation with customers all the time. Is that, like you rightly say, that there's nothing wrong with spreadsheets. They're always going to be present in the modern working. However, as your business grows, whether you're a smaller or a large organization, that complexity can occur in all types of size organizations. But certainly, as you scale, as you grow, perhaps you become international as an organization. Having that single point of truth and data becomes even more challenging to manage as an organization. As you said, lots of collaboration, different people needing access, which leads to greater risk and chance of that spreadsheet falling over, or maybe there's someone that's the owner of the spreadsheet departs the business. Having something with greater governance centralized is really key. And I think it's for businesses that are aspiring that perhaps have the complexity ahead of them, getting yourself set up to enable that growth without hurdles to growth by putting a platform in like Abacum is vitally important, isn't it?
Yeah. Both on the risk side, but also the collaboration side. If you stifle collaboration, then you're also potentially, preventing growth opportunities. So yeah, there's definitely many sort of aspects as to why having a tool like Abacum in place is going to benefit a company.
And Ryan, from your experience, there is the comfort blanket of spreadsheets, as we say, but is there any particular reasons that you've seen finance teams are sometimes reluctant to move away from spreadsheets, despite them working, but maybe not optimal?
I think it's just what they're used to, and it's comfort, right? And so I think some of the key points that we mentioned today, and I've been working in the FP&A space for a little over 7 years now, and I've talked to thousands of professionals that are extremely skilled at spreadsheets, and modeling. And I think again, it does come down to removing the risk and from that spreadsheet. You have a model, you have reporting that's due, you have a board meeting that's coming up in a day, the whole thing breaks, the file is inaccessible, right? There's just a lot of things that can present risk for yourself, right? And when things like that happen, it can be extremely frustrating for people. So if finance professionals, in my experience, understand that it can find a solution that can remove that risk, but then also start to unlock, like we said, the ability to collaborate. And something as simple as, I want my head of marketing to be able to go in, see their budget, be able to see all the vendors and the spend and where it's at in real time, and be able to ask for more or see when they're going over and drill through the information, and be self-serve. Like that's the type of advancement and that a finance professional is looking for, as well as when they collaborate with other people in the organization. So I think once the curiosity is piqued and people start looking into the benefits of it, there's a lot of really exciting use cases that we're going to explore here today, and that we can continue to explore with folks here.
Fantastic.
And one of the exciting things, right, is once you're moving into a platform is now, especially a modern platform such as Abacum, right, that has the technology to enable AI for finance professionals. This is a great example of something that gets unlocked, right? And I think we're going to talk a little bit about and even look at some of the ways that we can help solve some of these problems. George already mentioned, being able to aggregate a lot of data in one place, right? So Abacum can connect to all your different data sources, your like NetSuite, Salesforce, HubSpot, your HR systems, your data warehouses, right? And bring all that data together. Once it's brought in, we also have now there's AI capabilities that will allow you to organize all that data, right? And group the data in the dimensions that you need to. So that's a really good example of, when you're looking at your actuals, right, or your historical data, how can AI help you organize that better as an organization? And then also start to present maybe risks or anomalies or errors in the data too, so you can make sure that it's clean and it can help you start to make better decisions, especially as you start to think about what's happening in the past and how can I use that information to forecast things forward for the organization. You want that information to be accessible. And then what are the functional ways that AI, especially in finance, right? AI is still coming along as far as being able to what it can do with numbers. And I think we have done some really awesome things within Abacum that we'll take a look at today. But the generative AI, the way it can start to summarize the storytelling for you, because that aspect's important in finance as well as the storytelling and making it so all the hard work that we do in finance to make sure that we can steer the business in the right direction is also told in a way that the business can understand it. And so AI can also help you do that faster. George, what else would you like to add to this as your...
Yeah, so I guess speaking to our customers and our prospects, like it's just where AI can save you time effectively through automation. So like the analysis piece, like being able to crunch large amounts of data to identify like the anomalies or patterns or causality, which is just hard to find for just a human, just an average layman human who doesn't have a supercomputer for a brain. And Yeah, so just basically finding the insights, uncovering insights that maybe, or at least direct you in an area that you might not have thought to look in.
George, these don't always have to be huge tasks, right? This is just kind of, you know, you might want to have a quick search on, you know, a very simple sales year over year, with a couple of simple dimensions here to bring into effect. You know, it could be a simple question that someone's asked you to, you know, how is a customer performing this year versus last year, for example. It doesn't always have to be these
No.
large you know, big yearly models for forecasting. It can be simple questions, and that narrative reporting, you know, is so simple and powerful to give you immediate answers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's just going to improve as well, of course. So like the more that we can train the AI to get better at uncovering insights and providing better commentary as well. It as the technology develops, it will get better and better. Another thing I'm hearing from prospects is with the sort of AI forecasting piece. It's nice, especially have a lot of data, to use AI forecaster to effectively almost sense check your budget or your forecast. So maybe you're still not quite, fully uh, prepared to trust the forecast that's being provided by an AI, because at the end of the day, they might not know about future events. Like the model might not know. You will know when you're going to run marketing campaigns, when you're going to do whatever it is that you need to, that's going to inform your forecast. But at least it can look at historical trends, seasonality, and it can provide you a sort of path and identify potential errors or things that you might have missed off. Anyway, we'll cover some of that in the demo.
Yeah, I don't want to steal your thunder here, George. And tell us a little bit, right, about how, I guess, the AI evolution's continuing with your product.
Yeah, we already talked a little bit about in the last slide, kind of foreshadowing some of the things that we're working on here and that are already available within the platform. And when I think about it too, it's like, first of all, I put it in buckets. One bucket is how do we take the data that we have and organize it and make it easier to understand and get it ready to report on, right? Especially when you're bringing data in from all, like, millions of rows of data sometimes from clients, right? And many dimensions. I think we have some clients that have over 40 dimensions, which is a lot, right? But still being able to help organize that and group that. And then, as George mentioned, once you have that coming in, being able to spot certain anomalies, right, in that data, so you can start to train the model and train the system to understand what's happening in the business, and then also as you're building your forecast, what to do with that information moving forward. And then once that data is coming through on an ongoing basis, we can help you also classify that information. And classifying it can be something as tactical as just vendors that are getting tagged on expenses that are coming through, right? A lot of times vendors are tagged wrong. So then your reporting's off. It's tagged with, maybe it's spelled wrong. The system, like George mentioned, will start to just call things out to ensure that your data is accurate, and something as simple as like Google that's misspelled is now spelled correctly and it's adding up correctly to the right vendor, and marketing can see that expense accurately in their department, right? And they can start to collaborate on it with finance. Then as we think about the forward-looking piece and the investments that we're making, right? You can see a couple of the examples here, like AI forecasting. We'll see, and we'll talk a little bit about today within the product. But then also, what are we doing to help you do this even faster with capabilities like goal seek that we're going to introduce, as well as sensitivity, the sensitivity matrix, which can help drive some of your scenarios that you're planning even faster. So again, the forward-looking, but also the historical data and organizing it, applying really good functionality that we'll take a look at today, that'll help just save you time and help you be more accurate.
And I think one of the things that's worth flagging just to our audience today that maybe be considering an FP&A tool is, much like NetSuite was built in the cloud, you know, from its infancy, from its birth, back in the late 90s, and other ERPs have, you know, more traditional ERPs and have been playing catch up to get to the cloud. With Abacum, you know, you've had AI at the core of your offering from the outset. right? And some of your competition, whilst where there's great solutions, there is an element of playing catch up in terms of trying to build AI into the solution, whereas you guys have had it from the infancy.
Yeah, that's right. And there's people at Abacum that are much smarter than I am that could give you very technical reasons on like the foundation of the platform and the way it's built. Um, using words like hypercube, right, and tag-based, system to set up um, ourselves to be able to offer AI capabilities and be able to introduce them much faster. But for somebody as simple as I am, right, I think putting it the way of we've basically set up the technology with very modern tech that allows us to introduce AI functionality much faster and compared to some of the legacy systems where the technology, it's a lot harder to start layering in AI technology, AI capabilities. So from our prospects and from our partners, what we hear as they look around the market is that we are leading the charge with the AI capabilities that we're offering, as well as the ones that we're continuing to bring out to market on a monthly or quarterly basis. George, what would you add to that?
I think what I would add is some of what we're showing is and in this slide and what we'll see in the demo is probably quite exciting and sexy in terms of like table summaries, the AI forecasting. But I think something that Abacum's always done well, not just with AI, but with everything that we've released, is we also focus on the unsexy but time-consuming stuff, such as the AI classification, the reconciliations that are taking some poor person loads of time in an Excel manually just reconciling one vendor name to another vendor name or classifying cash so we can do a direct cash flow, this kind of thing. So it's an approach that, and we'll go through it in a demo, and it's an approach that Abacum like to take to basically bring highly functioning or highly productive tools into Abacum, not just the flashy stuff.
Fantastic. If my memory serves me correct, I think, George, it might be time to see. Oh, there's always one more. See, I nearly got caught out there.
Yeah, with the spirit, of partnership, definitely the focus with our NetSuite customer base. I think another thing maybe that we can touch on really quick, George, is just how we integrate with NetSuite to make sure that we're bringing in all the relevant information that matters in real time, and why this integration is and how it's a little differentiated also in the market.
Yeah, I mean, it's differentiated insofar as we can bring in pretty much everything. So transactional level data, we can bring in saved searches, reports, custom fields, everything. We have a direct native API integration. It's a bundle that basically gets installed within NetSuite. It's something that we have a step-by-step guide as to how you can set it up directly yourselves. I mean, as part of an implementation, we will obviously assist our customers, but it's all self-serve and it's thorough, let's say. So that is the main reason. On top of that, you can schedule uploads of all data syncs as well as have it coming through on the click of a button. But getting that transactional level information, that's important because that's what's going to enable you to do that budget versus actuals analysis and actually see the reasons for differences. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, George. All right. Now I'm going to pause my sharing here and pass it over to you, George, and we can go into product demo.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, you should be seeing my screen now. Is that the case, Ryan? Because I can't see if you can see it. Okay, perfect. So
yeah,
lovely. Okay, so yeah, welcome to Abacum. So I will give you an overview of how the tool's set up. We're currently in a space. So a space is an area for reporting. It's an area for doing reforecasting, collaborative workflows, budgeting, slicing and dicing, analyzing all of the data. So basically, it's an area for the output. The output being these numbers are being calculated over here in the model section. So you can think of this model section as basically your existing Excel or G Sheet model. Here you can see 3 financial statements. Here you can see other sort of feeder parts of the model. They're all interconnected. And if I click into any of these these models, so you can think of them as like tabs on your spreadsheet. If I click in, you're going to see a whole bunch of numbers, and behind that, you'll see a whole bunch of formulas. And those formulas are pulling the data from over here in the data set section. So this is where we've synced with NetSuite, with the data warehouse, with the CRM, whatever it is, to pull in all of the relevant source information or source data that we're then going to crunch and display out back here on the spaces. And I could spend the whole 10 minutes that I have allotted now just looking at the spaces, at all the different workflows that you can create, be it headcount planning, revenue forecasting, OPEX planning, CAPEX, whatever it is, as well as how you can create collaborative workflows with comments on cells, with tasks, as you can see a task down here, all of which are driving nice notifications. But actually, since the focus today is a little bit on the AI, I'm actually going to jump straight into how we've uploaded that data, how we've cleaned some of that data, and also then how we can create some AI forecasts on top of that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click right here on this cell, and you can do this on any of these numbers, and it will allow me to open the transaction details. Now, why am I doing this? Because it gives me a nice recap of what I've just talked about. So we're currently still in a space. I can see the formula that I've written to create this gross margin number that was written over here in the model section. And I can see the data that's basically flowing into that gross margin metric. That data is coming from a data set called journal data. So in your instance, you probably called it NetSuite transactional or general ledger. And this is just a name that I've given it. And in Abacum, you can name things whatever you want. So some of you won't be working for B2B SaaS companies. You'll see a few B2B SaaS type references. It's a generic demo environment here. Okay, so let's go and have a look at how I got that data in. So like I said, we will help assist with the integrations. Here you can see a whole bunch of different tools that we can integrate with, and you can literally just connect them right here from the front end. Once you've connected the different tools, you can then create snapshots of your data. So here I have a balance sheet report, I have a trial balance, and then I have a journal data. So the save search under transactional. To create the data set or a new one, I can just click up here, and I can look through to my NetSuite and pull the relevant information that I need to. Same as if it was any other data source. So here's, I'm just choosing G Sheets. You look through and you can pull the G Sheet that I've shared access to Abacum. Once we get the data in, I mentioned previously that you can pull data on a frequency basis or on a click of a button. So you can set up a scheduler over here. Once you get it in, it's going to look like this. Now, let's assume that we want to start organizing this data, and maybe we want to do some classifying or cleansing of the data. So first, to organize it, I might want to organize it into dimensions. So dimensions being like the categories in your business that you need to report or forecast that. So here you can see I have product, location, supplier, department, subsidiary. So I basically have tagged up all these columns as dimensions. I click on the column header here, give it a name, and now I can start reporting at this level of granularity. But let's say that we're missing some columns. We just haven't book kept it in NetSuite, and we need to perform some transformations to create new columns. So in this instance, these are the ones with the little blue Fs. If I look at this one, for example, we can create these new columns just using standard formulas. So here I'm using an if formula that basically looks at my balance column, and it says if it's greater than 0, classify it as a small, medium business. If it's greater than 500, then mid-market, and so on and so forth. And we have a whole bunch of functionality here to basically allow you to clean your data formulaically, like you probably already are doing in Excel. Then we can also do something called AI classifier. This basically enables me to upload a training model. So if I'm ever manually classifying, to use the example from before, like vendor names, misspelled vendor names into a correct spelling, I upload that Excel that I've been doing that process, and I use that as training data in Abacum. So then what I can do is I can define which column I need to then run that model against, and it will create a new column with the correctly classified vendor names. And this can also be applied for reconciliations. It can be applied for classifying cash transactions into sort of like operating or investing activities if you're doing direct cash flow as well. Okay, so that's getting the data in and organizing it into dimensions. Not all the dimensions are the same. Some of them might have relationships. So for example, the account, this has relationships or mappings if you prefer. So on the right-hand side, I have the general ledger accounts and the account names, and then this is mapping through all the way to the, in this instance, financial statement. And we can basically pull in your existing chart of accounts to create these existing mappings. This is obviously in the accounts, but you can have mappings for any of them. So departments or locations, you can have unlimited dimensions and unlimited mappings within Abacum. And then the same way as you would do in Excel or modeling in G Sheets, you're then going to use these different columns as references to calculate out your formulas. So if I jump here to the P&L, again, this is like the tabs on the spreadsheet. You can see it looks a little bit like a spreadsheet. Here I have my standard sort of pro forma. We can rename things. We can create new variables or new rows. So nothing in Abacum is fixed. It's flexible. We can create the P&L that you desire, what you need. And you can link to the other tabs on the spreadsheet to continue that analogy. So if I need to bring in my cash number, I just type cash and I bring in that information. So it's global naming conventions, and this is how you call upon different variables. And exactly the same functionality happens in the spaces. So if I want to have a table that contains revenue and cash, I just type those two words and pull them into a table. Now a little bit about how I'm actually getting these numbers in here. So here you can see I'm using a formula, a sum formula that's pulling the data from the data set that we were just looking at, which was the journal data, and it's filtering on the account type, which was the dimension we looked at, filtering on income. What you'll see is Abacum has all this low code, no code type functionality. So if I type sum, I can look through to NetSuite, I can look through to Salesforce or HubSpot, whatever CRM I'm using, the HRIS tool I'm using, and pull all the relevant information into Abacum. And this is calculating out the actuals for these 2 months because I have data until February 24. As soon as I upload data for March 24, this will automatically actualize. So I'll then have actuals until March and then forecast from April thereafter. And that doesn't just happen right here in the model section, which is just for the finance people, for the admins, but it happens everywhere I'm displaying that information in the spaces. So within the charts, within the tables, it actualizes throughout the tool. In terms of like the forecast then, so for the forecast, we can write formulas, so simple formulas here where this one's just pulling from my revenue model, and it's effectively it has an allocation by subsidiary, or we can right click on any line here and we can forecast using AI. Before I do that, you'll notice that I have some dimensions attached to this revenue number. So I've broken this revenue number down first into product, then I have here the subsidiaries, and actually on the right-hand side, if I want to reorganize that, so if I want the customer first, I want to deactivate the customer level of granularity, I can do it as well. So when it comes to actually forecasting here, I can right click and click on, instead of doing the formula, I can auto forecast the values. Let's not save my changes first. Let me show you what this looks like. 1 second. Okay. So basically, this is my current forecast. Now, if I want to forecast this at the variable level, or if I want to forecast it right the way down to the customer level, I can do. I just select the granularity or the aggregation I want to forecast it. It will then just generate an example, like a visualization of what the forecast looks like. And here you can see it's completely different to the formulated one. Probably I'm a little bit over the top of my formulated one, but this is basically extrapolating historical trends to then carry it across future years. And here it's going all the way to 2031. So now I can hit save and apply. And if I do that, then I'll be able to come in and actually overwrite any of the numbers that I've that it's generating. So if it says for 2026, I'm going to earn 3.4 mil, I can come in and override that and change it to 4 mil because I have some sort of information that the model didn't know. From the model section, you can also turn on AI anomaly detection from any of these, any of the metrics that we have here. So it basically will pop up over here. It's telling me no anomaly is detected. Okay, cool. But anyway, you turn it on over here, and you can ask it to look back a certain number of months. So I can have it, as long as I have 3 consecutive months of data, it'll be able to look back a certain number of months. When it identifies some anomalies, it'll basically pop up here as a notification, and you'll be able to tell the model if it's actually an anomaly or it's an immaterial difference. And every time you tell it, it's effectively getting it better and training the AI anomaly detection to notify you when it's actually relevant opposed to when it's not. Okay, so far I've talked to you about how we get data in, how we can organize it into dimensions and potentially clean it with formulas and classification, and then how we get it into how we model upon that organized data. I'll just take you quickly back to the spaces here. So here you can just see the same P&L that we were just playing with over there in the model. Just to link everything together, you'll see that if I click this button here, so I'm opening what we call our table builder. This is where I went and grabbed those variables from the model. So we're just in this P&L model, and this is how I select them. And as I said earlier, if I want to now bring cash into here, I just type cash and boom, I bring cash into the model. So this is called table builder. Here we can play around with timings. We can play around with comparisons, like budget versus actuals. We can reorder any of these variables. So if we want to say, for example, this revenue line, I want to see product first before subsidiary, we can reorganize and slice and dice the data however we like. Last thing I want to show you before we run out of time, and I'm sure I'm getting a little bit tight on time already, is the AI summary, table summary. So for here, you can see I can focus in on a specific dimension. So if I want to focus at the product level or customer level or perform a quick summary, this effectively is going to give us an AI summary. It's sending a prompt over to OpenAI, asking it to summarize this table, and it's going to generate output similar to this. So basically, most of our customers use this almost like as a starting point, and then they come in and they can organize it or edit it however they like. And with that, that's the demo portion of the webinar done. I hand back to Adam and Ryan.
Thank you, George. Very succinct, and as you say, you've finished on my favorite bit of functionality, which is great. So thank you. We've had a couple of questions come in that I'll pose to you both during the demo, and thank you for that. The first one that's come in is asking what, it's a tough question to answer, but what does an implementation look like? How are we talking in terms of time invested?
I'm happy to take it, Ryan. So an implementation on average is 4 to 6 weeks. It depends on the complexity of each of the customers that we're working with. We have an in-house implementation team. Generally, we use in-house implementation. Sometimes we have some external as well, depends on the customer's needs. And we have different packages. So we'll have a co-build where we work with the customer so they actually learn on the job. We have a bespoke where we kind of build everything for them. We tend to advise the co-build so that people are autonomous. And as you can see from the demo today, I really was almost teaching you how to use Abacum opposed to selling you it, because that's actually part of the value we see in our tool versus some of the other tools, is that it is something that a scaling company can use and can be a self-serve and actually benefit from the flexibility themselves.
And absolutely, and to add to that, to those customers or prospects on the line, we are also at NoBlue2 going through our accreditation, and we're just finalizing our accreditation to be an Abacum certified implementation partner. So there are different routes to implement this, depending on how you would wish to proceed, really. Next question that came up was around how you compared to other solutions in the market. A couple that were mentioned were Anaplan, Pigment, obviously in some cases slightly larger, more enterprise solutions, but what any particular differentiators that you would point towards your solution versus those two in particular?
I can go again if you want, Ryan. So with Anaplan, I would say, actually with both of them, I would say that piece I just touched upon there around that sort of self-service and ease of use piece. So Anaplan and Pigment are big tools. They are probably great solutions for like the Coca-Colas out there. But they tend to require a lot of at least a full-time employee who's trained on the tool, or a lot of third-party consulting. Whereas for example, the company I spoke to this morning, they had a not very nice experience around the plan. I showed them exactly what I just showed them you there, and they went, it's a very powerful tool. I can understand how I can see myself actually using this, and as the company grows, like, changing and adapting the setup as needed.
Yeah,
George,
and
I
I
think
think
we've
to
got
add
time
on
for
to that.
one final question. Sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean
Oh,
to
go
cut you
for it.
off. Just to squeeze one more in, we just had a final question saying, I'm a 400-person company.
Mhm.
Which would be best suited for my business? So 400-person company, I don't know, that sounds pretty much in the ballpark of sort of organizations you would work with, I understand.
Yeah, that's what we would call our ideal client profile. It depends if it's 400 people, waiting tables, or 400 people building software. It obviously depends a little bit on the type of company, but in general, yeah, we have customers who range from sort of 200-300 up to meant several thousand. So yeah, 400 is about right.
Yeah, and I think that also speaks to kind of some of the differentiators that you just mentioned as well. Abacum is the most like easy to use connected planning solution. So not just for the finance team, but also for operators. So we don't require you to go and learn a whole new language to actually use the system and write formulas. So being able to be quick and nimble as a finance team, as well as being able to connect that planning process with the rest of the organization, is really important at a mid-market size company. And being able to do that and get up to speed fast as well, and adopt quickly are key reasons why we are a good solution for the best solution for the mid-market, especially compared to some of the competitors that you guys asked about today.
Wonderful. Well, I think we're nearly at time. We'll just go on to our final slide that's got a QR code that hopefully you found today insightful and some food for thought around the FP&A tools that are available out there in the marketplace, but no more so than Abacum. And if you would like to learn more, then please do scan the QR code that you see on screen now, and we can be in touch. You will get a recording of today's session. But at this stage, nothing else remains to be said. But a big thank you for attending. I hope you found today's session insightful, and have a great rest of the day. Many thanks.
Cheers.
Thank you.